Welcome back to Rider Nation Station. Joe Hurlburt, Doug Frye on the Doug Frye Show. And Coach, this week let's take a look at equipment and how it has evolved over the years, maybe back when you even played high school ball, and how it has evolved through the years to where it stands in 2019. And probably the biggest change that a fan would probably recognize the most, with all the head injuries that has been come of light the last few years, and the concussion protocol that teams follow now, would be the evolution of the helmet. It has certainly changed from the time they played in the mid-'60s to where it is today.
And all for the better. I mean, it's changed immensely. I remember in the 7th grade, I got a dog-eared helmet. Okay, and about I was probably the smallest guy on the 7th grade team, so I think they probably thought I wasn't any good. So about the last 10 guys, they gave a dog-eared helmet. And after about the 3rd day of practice, I'd earned a new helmet. But the dog ear stuck out, and the only thing that was inside was a piece of strap to hold it right there with no padding on the inside of the helmet. So that's where, you know, it started in my career as far as a player goes. And in my high school helmets in my basement, a lot of times the kids will come over, our high school kids, and look at it. It's got some foam in it with no air in it whatsoever. And now the helmets are just amazing what they can do with them. Now the cost of a helmet is almost $375 a helmet for a Riddell helmet right now, with air in the cheeks, tops, sides, everywhere. And they are so much safer and so much better. And what we do every week, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, we do an equipment check where the kids have to go to their position coach and check the air again, put a new mouthpiece in. A lot of times the kids will chew their mouthpieces up, cut them off, which we do not allow, but they do it sometimes on their own. And it's just the evolution has been extreme, but it's also created a lot more expense for athletic departments.
Sure.
And then those helmets have to be reconditioned and redone every year, and I believe the lifespan is now 7 years on a helmet. They will not allow a young man to wear one more than that long.
Now, what about the shoulder pads? Now, we talked earlier that Tom Brady still has his shoulder pads today that he used when he played back in college. But again, they have to be reconditioned as well. Is that the same at the high school level?
Yeah, they're to be reconditioned. It isn't mandatory they have to be reconditioned every year. It depends how much they've been worn, okay? But we have to check them over, send them in, looked at. The local sporting goods person will look at them and see where they're at. And they become a lot lighter than they have in the past, and probably hasn't been quite the evolution or the change in the shoulder pad as there has been the helmets, but the straps are much better, so they don't bust off, and they're a little lighter than they have been and more condensed and probably built with better materials.
Sure. What about the shoes? Now with a lot of schools going to artificial surface, do you have turf shoes and grass shoes?
When I arrived here the first time in 1998, Coach Bachman had a whole closets full of shoes back there, and we were still in the shoe business here, but it was kind of getting to the point where kids were wanting to buy their own, and there were many different styles. So I decided then that first year, Steve Moore and myself, to get out of the shoe business at that point. So I really just tell the kids, have a good pair of shoes on, and I really suggest to them to have 2 pairs each season, because any more a pair of shoes maybe makes it halfway, 3/4 of the way through the season. So we suggest they have a practice pair and a game pair. Last week I did kind of play a joke on the guys a little bit. I came out with Austin Parks' cleats on. Well, I wear a 9 and he wears a 17. So Parks wore a 17 right there. So some of the cleats are a little tougher to find. But to answer your question, Joe, no, really, with the new turf surfaces, there is really no difference in the cleats that you wear on grass or turf now.
Well, that's one of the things that has changed since when I was playing, because when I was in high school, you used to be able to unscrew the cleats at the bottom. And if, the grass was wet and you found yourself slipping quite often, the trainer would set you on the bench. He'd unscrew the short cleats and screw the long cleats in. And then as I went to the University of Toledo and played on turf, they had 2 types of shoes, one for when it was dry and one for when it was wet.
And we still have the screw-in cleats. I suggest the kids don't wear the molded cleats because they wear too quickly. But really, with the new surfaces now, the way I remember AstroTurf or turf when it used to be back in the old days, it was rock hard. So it's now come so far and been such a progression that we really don't have to change the cleats at all.
Now here's a crazy thing that we see a lot of mostly receivers wear is that glove.
Right.
And, you see them where they're catching it behind their head, one-handed, upside down. It's almost like anytime the football gets to the glove, it'll stick. How has that evolved, and what's your thoughts on that?
I remember when you used to watch the NFL. I remember I used to watch the Browns versus the Raiders, and they'd have that glue on. Remember when you used to be able to wear the glue, and you see the receivers out there with this huge piles of like glue all over their hands, and then the tearaway jerseys. It used to be, I think Pruitt from the Browns used to get his tearaway ripped off all the time. But, the gloves, that's a preference, I guess, on the kids. And the only thing that irritates me with the gloves sometimes is those kids will, in one position will want to wear them, and then they'll take them off for another position. And but I just tell them that's kind of up to you. And the bottom line is, if you're going to put those on, you better be catching the ball. Absolutely. And is all I say at that point.
Yeah,
so,
I remember the thing called stick 'em.
Right.
It looked like glue. It was the glue,
correct.
and I remember Fred Biletnikoff in the NFL.
Right.
Had it all the way up from his wrist to his elbow,
Right.
and sometimes you put it on your sock and things like that. But it was always kind of funny because you would get it off your sock, and put it on your hand, then you would lick your fingers, and it was just crazy.
Right.
So that has evolved, and we don't see much stick 'em much anymore.
No, it's illegal now. You can't use it anymore, and and for good reason. And but the gloves they do have a tacky surface to them now, and I'm sure they do help a good bit with receivers catching the ball, and sometimes you see the linemen with those on too, just to protect the hands.
Sure. Any changes in the football over the years?
No, I just think that it's probably manufactured a little bit better, and we don't buy many brand new ones. We just buy a certain amount for games. We buy a lot of blems. So you see a lot of our footballs that are around practice, Louisville or Texas or something like that, because we'll get them for half cost so we can use them in practice. But what we do is Coach Kobe Frye, our running back coach, is our ball person. So he breaks the footballs out on Mondays that we're going to use on Fridays, and you will see us put it on the ground a little bit on Mondays and Tuesdays because there's a slick surface to the football. So we don't not want to break those in on a Thursday or Friday.
Absolutely.
He rubs them down a couple times during the week, and then he doesn't think they've got enough use during the week. He'll send them home with the quarterback to throw it around or whatever, get it broke in a little bit more. And I always hear him yelling as maybe the kickers will get their hands on those game balls, and he don't want them all beat up before Friday. So anyway, we get them broke in early in the week.
Now, one final question before we take a break. What does it cost to outfit a player?
Golly, I don't know the exact amount, but if you start with that helmet at $375, I mean that's not cheap right there. So I'm thinking probably $600 would be a ballpark range of if you're talking game gear, and that might even be a little bit shy of where it's at because game gear is not cheap anymore. So you might be pushing almost $700 a player to outfit them. So obviously budgets have been strained a little bit more as equipment has got more expensive, and also the number of sports in an athletic department have went up significantly. So, athletic departments have to work at fundraising and different other venues to keep their financial outlook on the positive side.
Sure. Well, we hope that's given you a little bit of insight of how the equipment has changed over the years to where it is today. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at St. Mary's win last week over the Bath Wildcats. We'll do that and more when we come back right after this. Vogel's Bake Shop, making thousands of fresh donuts daily, open 7 days a week with stores at St. Mary's, Salina, and Walpole. Also now found in Wagner's IGA at New Bremen, Minster, and Fort Laramie. Welcome back to Rider Nation Station, the Doug Frye Show. I'm Joe Hurlburt, your host, alongside head coach Doug Frye. And coach, win last week against the Bath Wildcats, 35-7. It runs your record to 6-2 overall, 5-2 in the Western Buckeye League. It was almost like a tale of two halves, so to speak. The first half, it seemed like the offense couldn't get any continuity to move the football. Special teams played a big part in the first half as far as putting points on the scoreboard. I think, as a matter of fact, they were responsible for about 9 of the first 21 points in the first half. So your special teams played extremely well. and then you did some adjustments at halftime, and it seemed like the offense kind of gelled a little bit more in the second half.
We knew that Bath was going to present a bit of an issue for us from an offensive matchup standpoint. They were big, they're physical, they had two good linebackers that ran to the ball well, so we knew we were going to have some issues there, and we're going to have to play well on special teams and do our job on the defensive side. So each week, sometimes the general public just looks at the record and says, well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. But different teams match up differently with each other. And so as a coach, we're looking at the matchup in the ball game and how that plays out for us. And again, I thought, I really believe this. Coach Rendell and his staff and the group he's put together, the next couple of years, Bath is going to be a team to be reckoned with in the league.
Yeah, they had a lot of young defensive players. I think they had 2 seniors and 4 juniors and 5 sophomores on the defensive side of the football, so you're absolutely right. But again, for this is the 3rd week in a row, the special teams received, and a good return here. We're going to see a clip of Braden Himmelgarn, who takes the opening kickoff and brings it back 44 yards, and again, gives your offense good field position to start the ball game.
Braden's a young man. It's a sophomore that did not play football last year, and that's a real heads-up football play right there. And, our kickoff returns recently have put us in some great field position. And, I would be shocked if we got too many kick deep to us the rest of the year. So we're going to have to prepare for that.
So we're starting to see some things change just a little bit as far as the opponent's special teams. They're not kicking them as deep. I think last week, Carson Fishbach even had one that he returned as well.
He did. Mm-hmm.
Ty Howell returned another punt for a touchdown, but unfortunately, in this clip, you'll see that it was called back because of a block in the back. But again, Ty, is very he's a force to be reckoned with.
He is, and what you see throughout the play here, you see blue jerseys on white jerseys, and our kids are hustling around. This is the clip they call right here. Now, he turns his back at the last minute, so that's a tough one right there. And all I told Fishbach was maybe try just to pull off there at the end. But, it's a fine line in coaching here. You want your kids to give great effort and stay with it. But I really like the effort across the board. Ty Howell's an athlete, and there's Fishbach at the end, Carson making good effort, and that's just a tough one right there.
This next clip, again, special teams, Dylan Troglin returns this punt 70 yards for a touchdown, and good blocking as well.
Sure, and Dylan, he's got some wheels, he really does. And here's a young man that we have moved around a good bit, and where he's settling in now to some playing time. And again, as you give Dylan credit for this, there's just a lot of great blocks. There's Frye on the bottom of the screen, Hunter Frye walling people off, and just a lot of people staying on blocks and being smart downfield, and that's really what it takes. But it's finished up by Dylan here at the end.
So we're going to see it again, but
look at the blocking. That's I give Dylan a lot of credit, but the blocking, and look at the speed of Coach Yale on the sideline there too. He's got some wheels for an older guy.
Yes, he does. And Brandon Bowers here hits a 40-yard field goal.
Snap by Trey Fisher, hold by Kurt Bupp, and finish kick by Brandon Bowers, a sophomore, by the way, that wasn't even a kicker till mid-season last year. We just kind of found him out of the blue, and was a safety and a split end for us, and we made him a punter in the summer, and he's doing a pretty good job for us.
To my understanding, that 40-yard field goal tied a school record. And so I'll tell you what, that's a weapon that can be used somewhere down the line as well, knowing that he's got that range.
Absolutely, and it's a credit again to the work he's put in.
Let's take a look at offensively for the Rough Riders. Started off the first half, as I mentioned, kind of inconsistent, had 5 penalties for 59 yards. You turned the football over a few times, but at the end led 21-7 at halftime. Second half, you started running the football a little bit more inside. This first clip we're going to see, Kurt Bupp does a great job of eluding the Bath rush and keeps his play alive.
Kurt Bupp is a testament to just continuing to believe and work, and it's paying off for him right now. His work has paid off. He's hung in there. He's playing good football for us right now, and his coachability is just tremendous right now. And, again, we were struggling. It wasn't our cleanest first half, but we bounced back.
Well, I'll tell you what is impressive to me, and you'll see it in another clip down that we're going to show here in a little bit. that when he gets out there, he doesn't drill the football to the receiver. He puts a nice soft touch to it, makes it catchable for the receiver. This one here is a 2-point conversion that fails, but nonetheless, it was there.
It was there. We just didn't quite execute it fully here, but made a play on it. And just got to finish this.
Yeah. Our next clip, Kurt Bupp again shows great poise. He hits Ethan Frye with a pass for a nice gain, and here again it's that he gets loose, and then it's just a nice soft touch on the football. He doesn't drill it; he just lays it out there for him to catch.
He steps up, puts a nice touch on it, and it was a good job by Ethan too, finding a little opening right there. Sometimes receivers do not do that, and that's just a good natural way about him. And Ethan's a kid that's played in and out of the lineup for 2 years. So last year he played a good bit and was a part-time guy as a sophomore. So he's got some experience for us.
Absolutely. Our next clip, Aiden Hinkle finally gets a score on a 2-yard run.
Right. Aiden was dinged a little bit and is coming back from some small injuries and getting back to full form here.
Good job by the offensive line. Just
nice push on the right
absolutely.
side. Yeah, nice push right there and belief and continuing and got the ball in the end zone. It was 4th down, I believe.
And the final clip for our offense is halfback pass, Dylan Troglin to Ty Howe for 19 yards. It was a good effort here by Ty, eluding the Bath defenders, making a move to get into the end zone.
Yeah, it was a good job by Ty at the end there. We'd rather got that ball out a little further. We kind of underthrow it a little bit, and Ty kind of bailed us out right there. But that's just a good headsy Friday Night Lights guys making plays right there.
Absolutely. Defense played extremely well. They put a lot of pressure on the Bath quarterback throughout the game. They came up with big plays when they had to. On this first clip, Ty Howe picks off a Dallin McDermott pass and returns it 46 yards for a touchdown.
Yes, good pressure by Trey Fisher right there, and Ty was in the right place at the right time, made a nice pick right there, and has a nice run back on it.
Good blocking right
yes.
there.
Look at the effort in the front right there, and those are the type of things as a coach that you like to see. Trace Mabry, Tanner Howe taking care of his brother right there, getting him to the end zone, helping out.
When they pancaked him to the ground. Good blocking. Carson Fishbach on this one. This was just a good play by the Bath receiver. I think Carson had great position on this one, but you have to give credit to the receiver of Bath that just went and took this one away.
Sure, he went and took it away right there. And I tell our DBs a lot. What we need to do is just maybe take an interference call, or face guarding is now legal in high school football, so
really?
We could have face guarded that now. But yeah, the kid makes a nice play on Fishbach there. Good catch up by Ty Howe there, saving it from being a touchdown.
This next clip, Lucas Walter, who's been playing well the last 2 or 3 weeks, he meets Blake Knorr, and they have a meeting with the Bath quarterback.
Those are 2 good senior football players, so if those guys are meeting in the same place, that's good for us.
And your defensive line, again,
yes, good.
I think got good push and pushed the offensive line back. And
Hunter Foltz, Trace Mabry, 2 juniors in the middle, doing a nice job right there.
And this final clip pretty much seals the deal for the Bath Wildcats. Carson Fishbach picks this one off in the end zone. Would you have rather seen him take a knee, but he decided, I'm going to run it out?
You got to react, and he thought that was the right thing to do at that point, and so I didn't have any problem with it. The one that probably made me more nervous than any during the season was when Ty Howe picked the one off at Kenton coming out of the end zone. I was just screaming, get down. I didn't want to see a fumble there at the end, but
sure.
At this point in the ball game, he just made a heads-up move and went with it.
Well, he almost broke this one for a
touchdown.
Yes,
he did. You can't, and that's why it's tough sometimes on penalties in ball games. You correct your young men and tell them to be a little smarter, but you don't. It's an aggressive game, so you want them to play with an aggressive attitude.
Yeah, and again on that clip as well, I don't know if you caught it at the end, but there's like 4 or 5 blue shirts down there leading the way. So,
correct. Well taught by our defensive staff there. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're getting out in front and hustling, and that's always good to see.
Get in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to take a quick break when we come back. This is rivalry week. as the St. Mary's Rough Riders will be on the road to take on the Salina Bulldogs this Friday night. Of course, Rider Nation Station will be there to bring you all the play-by-play action. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we'll talk a little bit about the Salina Bulldogs when we return to the Doug Frye Show right after this. Whether your goals include college education funding, retirement planning, generating income, or reducing taxes, at Glass Derringer Investment Management, we've got you covered. Stop in and speak with Jeff Derringer or Kevin Glass at 100 West Spring Street today. Glass Derringer Investment Management. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Coach, it's rivalry week. Salina, always a big week. Of course, Salina comes in 3-5 overall. They're 2-5 in the Western Buckeye League. They're under the third-year head coach, Brennan Bader. Regardless of the records, this is always a big ball game. And again, you're on the road at Salina.
Absolutely. But you know what I found, Joe, is I found that when we'd lost those 21 straight ball games, you know, everybody was not that excited about playing St. Mary's. Since we've been winning recently, there's 10 rivalries that come each week. So each week, everyone's kind of excited about playing us and playing Wapakoneta. And this is a big game for us because of proximity, the same way as with Wapakoneta. But we have great respect for Salina and what Coach Bader does in their program over there. They do a great job. And so we're excited, but, you know, we were just excited last week, and we'll be excited again next week. So it should be a good ball game.
Absolutely. And you know, I remember that, you know, back in the 70s when and Salina's always been a big rivalry. But, you know, parents work with each other from Salina and St. Mary's. And I tell you what, the rivalry at times, not only does it get heated on the field, but you know, the parents and the citizens of Salina and St. Mary's, they kind of jaw at each other throughout the course of the year if one wins and one loses. Yeah,
I'm sure that does happen at times. Like I said, it's in proximity, and a lot of our people hang out, shop at the same places, you know, patronize the same places to buy things and go to the store and all those things. So that adds to the rivalry. Sure. And but, you know, we're going to concentrate on playing the game and have great respect for Salina and all they do. Offensively, what do you expect to see from the Bulldogs? They are athletic is what jumps at us. And, you know, they took OG to the limit, and then, you know, it was a 1-point loss. And then last week didn't go as well as they had hoped for against Wapakoneta. But the game, as I said earlier in the program, is all about matchups. And Cooper Jones and Silliman are two very athletic football players in the backfield. They're big up front. You know, it's at their place. So we know it's going to be a huge emotional type game. So we're going to have to do our best to try to slow down their athletes. And defensively, what do you look as far as defensively from Salina? Well, they're like I said, they're big, and they have good linebacker core, and you know, we've had issues at times moving those big kids. So again, we'll have our hands full. And again, in games such as this, a lot of things happen. You know, emotions play a big part on the field, things of that nature, and it could boil down once again to special teams. And of course, your special teams, is, in my opinion, is playing pretty good football. Well, hopefully we'll continue that, and we work at that a lot, and hope to do that, and that'll be our focus each evening as we go to practice at the beginning. Absolutely. Well, that's St. Mary's Rough Riders, Salina Bulldogs matchup. Of course, Rider Nation Station will be there. We'll take a break. We'll come back with a final thought with Coach Frye right after this.
If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, your job is made easy with Scott Ross Realty. Contact one of their hardworking, well-trained agents today at 419-305-4373 for all of your home buying and selling needs. Scott Ross Realty, wishing all Rough Rider sports good luck.
Coach, one final thought. What's it going to take to get a W for the Rough Riders against the Salina Bulldogs? I think when we come out of the locker room, we have to handle the emotion of the game, and we have to come to play and, you know, kind of shut down what's outside of us and just play the game the way it's supposed to be played. I'm sure they'll pull all the stops out on us, so, you know, we're anticipating any kind of trick plays and onside kicks and anything there. And every week we prepare for those things. Sure. And I think we just have to play our game inside our own framework and
and continue to do that.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best against the Bulldogs on Friday. Again, as I mentioned, you'll be able to hear the live audio version of Rider Nation Station broadcasts of the Salina-St. Mary's game. We'll be on the air approximately 6:45 on Friday. Then, of course, the video portion will be replayed on TSC starting on Monday at 10 a.m. So once again, for Doug Frye, I'm Joe Hurlburt. We hope you enjoyed this edition of the Doug Frye Show. We'll see you next time. So long, everyone.
This episode of Rider Nation Station has been sponsored by American Manufacturing Solutions, your total logistic partner, investing in the St. Mary's community.
Vogel's Bake Shop, making thousands of fresh donuts daily, open 7 days a week with stores in St. Mary's, Salina, and Walpock. Also now found in Wagner's IGA in New Bremen, Minster, and Fort Laramie. Whether your goals include college education funding, retirement planning, generating income, or reducing taxes, at Glass Derringer Investment Management, we've got you covered. Stop in and speak with Jeff Derringer or Kevin Glass at 100 West Spring Street today. Glass Derringer Investment Management, securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, your job is made easy with Scott Ross Realty. Contact one of their hardworking, well-trained agents today at 419-305-4373 for all of your home buying and selling needs. Scott Ross Realty, wishing all Rough Rider sports good luck.